Uncle Drama here. Moon Dong-un is a girl who suffers severe bullying at school. The most recent incident was so extreme that she filed a complaint with the police, but it led to no action. The teacher who picked her up at the station complained that she had involved the police over a simple joke between classmates, even though her face was bruised. The school principal tells Park Yun-jin to apologize to Dong-un, but does not apply any punishment to the bully. The next day, Yun-jin and her group take Dong-un to the gym. One of Yun-jin's friends is in a relationship with the PE teacher, which allowed her to get the keys to ensure no one would interrupt them. Yun-jin apologizes and says that Dong-un didn't need to involve the police. To seal their new friendship, she asks Dong-un to check if the curling iron is hot. Yun-jin's friends hold Dong-un down and press the iron to her arm, making her cry in pain. Yun-jin continues her cruelty, saying she gets away with it every time and that no one can protect Dong-un from her torment. Later, Moon Dong-un goes to the infirmary to ask for medicine for her wounds. The school nurse, realizing that Dong-un was bullied, expresses concern and offers to help by reporting it to a teacher. However, she is shocked when she discovers that Yun-jin is behind the injuries. After school, Yun-jin's group goes to Dong-un's home to mock her poverty. They find the money Dong-un had saved for college and throw it away as if it meant nothing. Tired of all the torment, Dong-un climbs to the roof of her building, seemingly planning to do something tragic. However, when she gets there, she sits on the ground and begins to cry. As tears fall, she notices the snow soothing her wounds, offering a brief moment of relief amid the suffering. The next day, she decides to drop out of school. On her withdrawal form, she cites school violence as the reason for leaving and lists the names of her tormentors: Yun-jin, Sare, Haijong, Myung-oh, and Jae-jun. Teacher Kim is also mentioned in the letter, since he knew about the abuse, but did nothing to stop it. The teacher intercepts the form before it reaches the principal, worried it could damage his career. Clearly irritated, he tells Dong-un that nothing serious ever happened. Dong-un responds by confirming the pain she has endured. The teacher, furious at her response, violently beats her repeatedly. Afterward, Jong Mi-hee, Dong-un's mother, is called to a meeting with Yun-jin's mother, Yang Ae. During the meeting, Yang Ae offers Jong Mi-hee a large sum of money in exchange for signing a document that states Dong-un left school because of difficulties adjusting. The next day, Dong-un's mother moves out without warning, leaving her daughter behind. Among her mother's belongings, Dong-un finds the document Jong Mi-hee signed. Abandoned by her mother, Dong-un is forced to work to survive. She moves from one job to another, sometimes working as a cleaner, sometimes in a snack bar. Though she often feels like giving up, she pushes forward. Elsewhere, Yun-jin's group goes to church, mocking Sare's father, who is the pastor, during the sermon. The next day, they find another student to torment at school, as they repeat the curling iron torture on another girl. Dong-un appears to mock them. She has discovered their desires. Sare wants to be an artist. Jae-jun is set to inherit a golf course. Haijong dreams of becoming a flight attendant. And Yun-jin plans to marry and become a mother. Trying to hide her discomfort, Yun-jin asks what Dong-un wants. Dong-un responds that her new goal is to reunite with Yun-jin. Dong-un dedicates years of her life to working and studying to achieve her goal. During this time, she meets Koo Song-hee, a young orphan who has watched Dong-un struggle to get into college and deeply admires her. The two become close friends, and Dong-un confides part of her plan to Koo Song-hee. She helps Dong-un find certain people and information through social media. Through her research, Dong-un discovers that Yun-jin has become a weather presenter and married a very important man. The others have also managed to achieve their dreams. After a long day of classes and work, Dong-un collapses from exhaustion and ends up in the hospital. There, she meets Ju Yo-jong. After seeing her medical records and learning she suffers from anemia, Ju Yo-jong decides to accompany Dong-un to the university, only to be kicked out of the classroom. He finally gets to approach her the next day, warning her to continue treatment if she doesn't want to return to the hospital. During their conversation, they talk about Go, a strategy game similar to chess. Ju Yo-jong offers to teach her how to play, and the two start spending time together. However, one day, Dong-un ends their contact, thanking him for everything she has already learned. She discovers that Yun-jin has become a mother, something Dong-un had been waiting for to begin her revenge. Dong-un obtains her teaching license and waits for the right moment to become Ha Yi-sol's teacher Yeon-jin's daughter. Meanwhile, among the group of friends, Hae-jong takes a dress from Sare's store without paying, resulting in a public humiliation. However, she doesn't seem to care and posts on social media, thanking her friend for the gift. Dong-un meets Myung-oh and, to manipulate him for her revenge, tells him she knows who killed Yoon So-hee, another student who was also a victim of the bullying group. First, she asks him for small favors, like getting strands of Jae-jun's hair and information about where Sare buys her drugs. In exchange, she promises to help him earn a lot of money. Dong-un also gets assistance from Mrs. Kang Hae-nam, the housekeeper at Yeon-jin's home. On the day they met, Hae-nam proposed a deal. She would help Dong-un as long as Dong-un killed her abusive husband in return. Dong-un teaches Mrs. Kang how to use a camera and pays for driving lessons for her. She also begins tutoring Kang's daughter, keeping them both away from the abuser for more time. Dong-un approaches Ha-deong, Yeon-jin's husband, through the game of Go, of which he is an avid fan. Additionally, it is revealed that she blackmailed the president of the school district to get hired as a teacher at Yiseo's school. A few days later, Yeon-jin discovers that Dong-un is her daughter's new teacher. She offers Dong-un money to leave and never involve herself with Yiseo again. However, the teacher simply mentions her concern for the girl, having discovered that Yiseo is colorblind. With this, Dong-un suggests that Yiseo may not be Ha-deong's daughter but Jae-jun's, as he shares the same condition. Dong-un plans to reveal this information at the next parent-teacher meeting. To make matters worse for the group, they learn that teacher Kim, who had always covered up the students' cruelty, has died. His death appears to be a message from Dong-un. Dong-un did, in fact, play a role in his death. She had met and befriended Kim's son, Soo-han, at university. The young man was about to receive his degree for his dream job, and Dong-un went to his house to congratulate him with flowers, unaware that teacher Kim was allergic. When Kim saw his former student, he became agitated, especially as Dong-un began dropping hints in front of his son. After his father's extreme reaction, Soo-han demanded an explanation, and Dong-un revealed everything his father had done to her. Now, Soo-han intends to sue him to keep the scandal out of the media. Later, Soo-han goes to pick up his father from the hospital and uses the opportunity to confront him. Teacher Kim tries to calm his son but ends up having an allergic attack due to the many flowers sent to his room. Yeon-jin becomes deeply worried about the unfolding events, realizing that even her influence wasn't enough to get Dong-un fired. Dong-un sends a message to Yeo-jong after years to apologize for how she left. The young doctor is excited by the contact and expresses that he still loves her and believes he could make her happy. In response, Dong-un only smiles but does not agree to start a relationship with him. The purpose of the conversation was to secure an ally. Yeo-jong tries to persuade her to abandon her revenge, arguing that it won't lead anywhere. However, upon seeing Dong-un's scars, he changes his mind and promises to help her. To follow Dong-un's plan, Yeo-jong moves to another city, where he opens his own medical practice. A few days later, Dong-un, during a parent meeting, both Do-young and Jae-jun show up to see Yiseo, causing tension. Jae-jun, who had already discovered that he was Yiseo's biological father, began looking for legal ways to gain custody of the child. While the process is ongoing, he visits Yiseo and is moved by the fact that she faces the same challenges as he does due to her color blindness. Later, Hae-jong reveals Yeon-jin's cruelty to Do-young. When he confronts his wife, she unintentionally admits to everything, dismissing it as childish pranks and exaggerations. Do-young decides to seek out Dong-un to clarify the situation, sensing that there's more about his wife that he needs to know. Meanwhile, Dong-un uses the money she extorted from Sare to send CNA, Mrs. Kang's daughter, to study in the United States. Yeon-jin hires Young-jun, a police officer, to investigate her enemy and discovers that Dong-un leads an apparently flawless life. She also learns that Dong-un has been living in the house across from hers. Dong-un reveals part of her revenge plan to Do-young, and after their conversation, she directs him to her apartment, where he finds his wife. He asks his wife if she really committed all those cruelties back in school, but she puts him in a difficult position, forcing him to choose between believing a stranger or the mother of his child. Dong-un watches the scene via camera and realizes that, despite everything, Do-young respects others deeply. We then learn that So-hee, another victim of the bullying group, had her body moved to the morgue freezer in 2004. This revelation shocks Yo-jong, as it means the order was given by his father, who hoped the case would be reopened. The next morning, the detective hired by Yeon-jin interrogates Ji-jun about Myung-ho's disappearance. During the interrogation, the detective mentions Dong-eun's name, implicating her in the investigation. In the afternoon, Dong-eun meets Yeon-jin at a store, accompanied by a staff member with visible scars. The two women go to a cafe, where Yeon-jin warns Dong-eun that she knows about her revenge plan. However, Dong-eun presents evidence that could ruin Yeon-jin's life, including videos showing her illegally entering a house, complaints filed against her at school, and photos taken with the help of the school nurse who had assisted Dong-eun. Dong-eun gives Yeon-jin a chance to turn herself in and face the consequences of her actions legally, but Yeon-jin reacts with disdain. Yeon-jin tells Dong-eun that she should thank her because it was due to her that Dong-eun worked so hard to become a teacher. Otherwise, she would have ended up on the streets like her mother. Do-young begins to realize that he might not be Yi-sol's biological father. Since Yeon-jin now knows where Dong-eun lives, she moves in with Yo-jong for safety. The move also helps to develop their romantic relationship. Meanwhile, Yeon-jin faces serious issues as the investigation into So-hee's death is reopened. To worsen things for her, Dong-eun manages to contact So-hee's mother, who had been ignored by the police because of her disability. The woman gives Dong-eun important evidence, including a piece that links Yeon-jin to the death. Yeon-jin also finds out that Mrs. Kim has been helping Dong-eun and offers her a deal to eliminate Mrs. Kim's abusive husband and provide money for her and her daughter to live in another country, as long as Mrs. Kim works for her. Under pressure, Mrs. Kim flees with her daughter at night, but later returns and reveals to Dong-eun that she managed to hide key evidence. Dong-eun also arranges a safe place for the housekeeper's daughter to stay until their flight to the United States. Hae-jong keeps her promise to Dong-eun and lures Yeon-jin to Yo-jong's clinic. During the procedure, Hae-jong mentions that Dong-eun has been playing Go with Yeon-jin's husband, leading to a heated argument in the clinic. After their argument, Yo-jong offers a facial cosmetic procedure to Yeon-jin, which she accepts as long as the procedure is done under general anesthesia, since she is afraid of needles. Yo-jong takes the opportunity to question her about Myung-ho. It is then revealed that Yeon-jin had an argument with Myung-ho and struck him with a bottle after he blackmailed her. She enlisted Officer Young-jun's help to cover up the crime, burying the body on a rainy night to destroy the evidence. After waking up from anesthesia, Yeon-jin reacts violently, believing she overheard the doctors talking about the incident. She goes home in a panic, convinced something might have been implanted in her body, but soon realizes it was just paranoia. Do-young meets with Dong-eun again. She tries to convince him to get a divorce, as she doesn't want him to be affected by her revenge. However, Do-young states that he won't divorce her and doesn't fully understand the extent of her hatred. Yeon-jin's relationship with her husband is also in crisis, as he has started ignoring her messages and only responds to the essentials when they're together. She questions why he continues to engage with Dong-eun, and he admits that he enjoys the challenge Dong-eun presents. Yeon-jin accuses her husband of infidelity, claiming he enjoys being around Dong-eun, but Do-young points out the hypocrisy of the question, mentioning Jae-jun. Speaking of Jae-jun, he is preparing his home for when he gains custody of Yi-sol. He also sends a hard drive for repair, discovering that Yeon-jin had deleted all recordings prior to Myung-ho's disappearance. Meanwhile, Mrs. Kim returns to her old life to avoid suspicion, though her face shows clear signs of domestic abuse. Things get worse when her husband finds out that their daughter is about to leave the country. During an argument, Mrs. Kim keeps a sad smile on her face, dreaming of her daughter's future and telling her husband that one day she will leave for good. When she receives a message from her daughter, confirming her safe arrival, Mrs. Kim feels a sense of relief. Mrs. Kim's husband discovers the money hidden in her purse and uses it to blackmail the woman Mrs. Kim had mentioned. Hae-jong recovers Myung-o's tablet and finds the crucial audio he recorded on the night Yeon-jin assaulted him. She then discovers that Yeon-jin and Young-jun hid Myung-o's body in an abandoned morgue that was up for sale. Still trying to capitalize on the situation, Mrs. Kim's husband starts sending daily messages to Yeon-jin's mother, threatening to reveal what her daughter had done. This greatly worries her, leading her to seek help from Captain Young-jun. However, Young-jun, tired of being treated like a pawn, rejects the offer of money, saying he will only deal with So-hee's body. Meanwhile, Dong-eun plans revenge against the troublesome teacher who has a compromising history and problematic photos on his personal computer. With the help of a colleague, Dong-eun gathers evidence to take action against him, instead of directly involving the police. Dong-eun uses Jae-jun to administer the punishment the teacher deserves. After leaving the police station, Jae-jun meets Do-young, and the two argue over Yi-sol's paternity. The next day, Do-young fights with Yeon-jin, making it clear that even if they separate, Yi-sol is still his daughter. He leaves and takes the girl to his mother's house. Shaken, Yeon-jin continues with her plan to get Dong-eun expelled from school, and it works. In shock, Dong-eun confronts her mother, questioning how she could align with the person who caused her the most suffering. The argument escalates into a physical fight. That night, Dong-eun meets with Jae-jun and almost kills him. However, Yeo-jong arrives just in time to calm the situation, pretending to be an inexperienced driver. Sare, who had been struggling with withdrawal symptoms, sees her condition worsen. Her parents, unable to handle her constant outbursts, are desperate. Dong-eun uses this crisis in her revenge. The next morning, she sends Sare a message indicating where she can get drugs. At the same time, Dong-eun instructs Mrs. Kim to inform Yeon-jin that Sare is at the church. A hallucinating Sare behaves erratically in the church, causing a public spectacle that ruins both her and her family's reputation. When Yeon-jin meets Dong-eun and says that Sare will soon be forgiven since this is her first scandal, Dong-eun agrees and says she has filed a public anonymous report about the bullying and murder of a student. Yeon-jin tries to downplay the situation, arguing that there is no concrete evidence against her. She also decides that taking legal action against the accusation could expose her even more, so it's best to let the storm pass. Meanwhile, Hae-jong and Jae-jun are adjusting their strategies. Upon hearing Myo's audio recording, Jae-jun sees an opportunity to gain custody of his daughter. He offers Hae-jong the chance to live with him and help take care of their daughter, a proposal she accepts. At the same time, the bottle used in Myung-o's murder is a crucial piece of evidence and is in the hands of Kyung-ran, the store clerk who had been mistreated by Yeon-jin. Dong-eun takes advantage of this and approaches the clerk to ensure she keeps the secret. She also encourages the woman to get revenge on Yeon-jin. Mrs. Kim consults a shaman for guidance regarding her daughter's future. Upon leaving, she runs into Yeon-ae, Yeon-jin's mother. Yeon-ae asks the shaman about the longevity of a man who is demanding 1 billion won, suggesting that this amount could be better used as donations to the temple. The shaman becomes intrigued by the situation and begins making predictions that could affect everyone involved. Thanks to Mrs. Kim, Yeon-jin discovers that Hae-jong is living with Jae-jun. Curious about their connection, Yeon-jin decides to confront Hae-jong to clarify the situation. Their encounter becomes quite heated, resulting in a tense argument. Later, Hae-jong visits Sare to inform her that the media's attention has shifted to her after a report surfaced alleging that her paintings were being used for tax evasion. Meanwhile, Captain Young-jun finds out that the morgue has been sold and decides to eliminate the evidence. But he is shocked to discover that the body is no longer there and the police are close to finding it. Dong-eun, on the other hand, has resigned and, when saying goodbye, apologizes to Yi-sol for what's about to happen. Jong-mi flies into a rage upon learning of her daughter's resignation, declaring that Dong-un has no choice but to continue generating money. In a fit of anger, Jong-mi flips over the stove, screaming that this place would be the best spot for them to die together. The next morning, Hae-jong informs Yeon-jin about Maimo's death and hints that she now has the power to ruin Yeon-jin. This leaves Captain Young-jun shaken, and he begins to amass as much money as possible to flee the country. Dong-un uses a hidden camera recording to present evidence that her mother is alcohol dependent and poses a danger to herself and others. This leads to Jong-mi's institutionalization. Sae is released from prison and faces a crowd of reporters interested in the scandal involving the embezzlement of funds from her gallery. Determined to get revenge on Yeon-jin, Sae retrieves a compromising video of Yeon-jin mistreating So-hee for wearing an outfit similar to hers. In the video, Yeon-jin demands that So-hee strip in the middle of the street and threatens the girl. Jae-jun continues his own blackmail efforts, but Yeon-jin manages to turn the situation in her favor, using their daughter as leverage. She insinuates that revealing the truth about the girl's mother could cause irreparable harm, and offers Jae-jun the promise of a happy family if he keeps the secret. Later, Yeon-jin meets with Sae and is accused of the recent scandals. During the conversation, Yeon-jin realizes that she has lost an ornament from her bag in a compromising location. Despite everything, Dong-un and Yeo-jong share several joyful moments, both at home and during outings. Jae-jun blackmails Do-young to divorce Yeon-jin and relinquish custody of Yi-sol. He argues that if Yeon-jin is exposed as a criminal, it will cause great suffering to the girl. Elsewhere in the city, Mrs. Kim's husband finally succeeds in his blackmail efforts. The man believes he is about to receive a large sum of money, but Yeon-jin's mother has planned to kill the blackmailer and stage it as an accident. While Yeon-jin frantically searches for her lost bag ornament at the morgue, she is caught off guard by Yeo-jong, who informs her that he is the new owner of the facility and has locked the doors to prevent any break-ins. Yeon-jin protests, claiming it's unfair for him to side with a stranger, but Yeo-jong calmly returns her ornament and warns her to be careful. The detective investigating Myung-o's case speaks with Dong-un and reveals that he's also looking into So-hee's case. Dong-un had previously provided information implicating Yeon-jin. The detective recalls that not all of the evidence from the time was thoroughly analyzed. Later, Yeon-jin visits her mother at the temple and recognizes the shaman as So-hee. The shaman begins to speak cryptically, mentioning that if Yeon-jin asks, she will take off her clothes, alluding to the day So-hee lost a plaque with Yeon-jin's name on the rooftop. The shaman wrestles with a spirit and suddenly suffers a divine punishment attack, terrifying Yeon-jin even more. That night, Mrs. Kim identifies her husband's body, a moment that stirs mixed emotions in her, though she ultimately feels a sense of peace. Upon leaving the station, she runs into Yeon-jin, who pressures her to withdraw the charges against her mother. Lacking any more leverage, Yeon-jin finds herself on the defensive as Mrs. Kim turns the tables, returning the humiliation she once suffered. Do-young witnesses this exchange and seizes the moment to advise Yeon-jin to do the right thing and apologize to So-hee's mother. Yeon-jin's evasive justification sounds like an admission of guilt, making Do-young's decision to publicly separate from her much easier. The next morning, the separation becomes near national news, with rumors swirling that it was caused by the anonymous bullying allegations. Meanwhile, Sae presses forward with her revenge against Yeon-jin, but ends up offending Hae-jong. Sae releases videos confirming the anonymous accusations against Yeon-jin, leading to her losing her reputation at work and facing rejection from her daughter, Yi-sol. With the truth out, Yi-sol's classmates fear interacting with her. Yeon-jin holds a press conference where she admits to taking her pranks on So-hee too far. However, she insists that So-hee's death wasn't her fault, claiming that So-hee was desperate after discovering her pregnancy and chose to jump off the building. At Myung-o's funeral, Sae and Hae-jong continue their bitter feud. Sae grows increasingly aggressive and decides to post a video of Hae-jong with Myung-oh. Yeon-jin arrives at the worst possible moment and is attacked by Sae, who believes Yeon-jin is trying to use the situation to cover up her own scandals. Amid the chaos, Yeon-jin realizes it was Hae-jong who leaked the video. Jae-jun is shocked to discover that Yeon-jin revealed Sohee was pregnant and sets off to investigate. Just after Jae-jun leaves, Sae stabs Hae-jong in the neck. The next day, Jae-jun seeks out Yeo-jong to verify the information about Sohee, knowing that Yeo-jong's family owns the hospital where Sohee's body was kept. Yeo-jong provides critical details, including Sohee's medical history, confirming that Myung-oh wasn't responsible for Sohee's abuse. Do-young and his daughter moved to another country to start a new life. Mrs. Kim, tasked with one final mission by Dong-un, sets out to repay those who helped her. She eventually opens a restaurant to ensure a better future for her daughter. Dong-un reflects on two important memories. First, of the woman who saved her from drowning in a lake one night, and second, of her childhood best friend, who distanced herself out of fear of becoming Yeon-jin's next victim. In the present, Dong-un meets with Yeon-jin's mother and proposes a deal. Have Mrs. Kim drop the charges against her in exchange for the plaque with Yeon-jin's name, which is crucial evidence in Sohee's case. Yeon-jin's mother quickly accepts, eager to save herself. However, the plaque cannot be used as evidence since time has degraded it, and it has been tampered with, rendering the DNA nearly non-existent. But Dong-un cleverly uses the plaque to show Yeon-jin that her own mother was willing to sacrifice her to save herself. By now, Dong-un has successfully isolated Yeon-jin from all the important people in her life. As Dong-un leaves the restaurant, she discovers that Song-hee's mother had a breakdown following the shock at Myung-oh's funeral. And at the hospital, she finds out that the woman's emergency contact is none other than Yeo-jong. This surprises her, as it makes her realize that Yeo-jong had known about her intentions from the very beginning. When they meet, Yeo-jong explains the situation, and once again, it becomes clear that they have feelings for each other. On the other hand, Hae-jong is extremely upset because Jae-jun abandoned her after seeing her vulnerable state, leaving her almost homeless. Dong-un sees this as an opportunity for revenge. She knows that Jae-jun suffers from glaucoma and that if his treatment is altered, he risks losing his vision completely. Although Hae-jong still has feelings for him, Jae-jun's insensitive behavior convinces her to go along with Dong-un's plan. The next night, Yeon-jin receives a video showing that the bottle she used was found and rushes to the location, unaware that it is a trap. The detective decides to speak with Dong-un to inform her that he knows she is behind everything. Though Dong-un has no direct connection to the case, the detective thanks her for always telling the truth and apologizes for not listening to her earlier. He hints that he will not pursue any evidence against her. It is revealed that Kyung-ran, the employee at Jae-jun's shop, is the true culprit behind Myung-oh's death. She struck him with the bottle after having flashbacks of the atrocities he forced her to commit. Dong-un recalls her visit to Yeon-jin in prison, where she revealed that Yeon-jin was now truly alone, having lost her husband, mother, and daughter. Dong-un and Yeo-jong go for a walk. She thanks him for his help and bids him farewell, as she no longer has a vengeance to fulfill. She is about to take drastic action when Yeo-jong's mother appears, asking Dong-un to save her son. Yeo-jong had previously spoken to his mother to obtain her permission to use his father's scalpel in a different way. Rather than to save lives, to cause harm, his mother gave her blessing, feeling relieved that her son was not as blindly benevolent as his father. One day, a severely injured prisoner was brought to the hospital, and no one wanted to treat him out of fear. As the hospital manager, Yeo-jong's father decided to operate on the prisoner. Before starting the surgery, he asked a nurse to call his son to tell him not to eat ramen. This irritated the prisoner, who thought that while he was dying, the doctor was more concerned about what his son was going to eat. During the surgery, the prisoner woke up from the anesthesia, grabbed a scalpel, and killed Yeo-jong's father. At the trial, the prisoner was sentenced to the maximum penalty, but in an attempt to make Yeo-jong feel what he felt, He seemed more concerned about the itch in his cast than about his own life. Years later, Yeo Jong tried everything to become the doctor at the prison to make the prisoner suffer. However, he was unable to do so because the prison director did not think it was appropriate for a doctor to share the same space as his father's killer. 6 months pass, and we see Dong-un at a monastery with an influential woman who asks him to arrange for a prisoner to be transferred to another facility. After completing this task, she returns to the city and informs Yeo Jong that she had been away all this time working to help him with his revenge. She secures jobs for both of them at the prison so that Yeo Jong can finally carry out his vengeance. If you watched this far, give the video a like. And if you want more K-drama recaps, subscribe to TO Drama.